to the cloud. All right, there we go.
There we go.
All right, so if we get underway at 7:09. It's approval of minutes of June 16th. They looked all right to me. I have a motion on the floor, maybe, to put on the
I
floor.
move that we accept the minutes of June, what, 18th,
16th.
16th?
Okay, thank you. Any second? No second? Carol,
Carol
what?
wasn't-
I'm
Carol
going
wasn't-
to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
I'll second it. If that's legal for me.
I
to
guess I
second.
could too anyway.
Yeah, why don't you
Right.
do it instead of me? Pete?
So I'll second it.
Okay.
Any discussion, omissions, corrections? So there's a lot of minutes here and they seem to have summarized everything pretty well. Marilyn did a good job. Any other discussion, anything?
No,
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
aye,
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay. All right. I don't know what the next steps in the process for the acquisition of the open space parcel on Mason Road. As I forwarded you the note from Kathleen Colburn that they're amenable to waiting or working with the timeline we present them. However, a little quid pro quo, they're requesting that they either get an abatement or abatement or reduction of the real estate taxes. And we'd have to talk about over what period of time, and I'm not sure how that would be done, but I would expect that the first thing we do would, if we did that, was to go to the selectmen and present that to them and see how they would proceed on this. The current taxes on the property are $1,484.22.
And what's that based on, Pete? Is it that on the 70,700?
I guess the total's 70,000, I believe, yes, yeah.
well, they're paying for one building lot plus the additional acreage.
Right.
My only thought on the whole thing is that we are not a regulatory body and we cannot make a decision. This is a decision that has to be made by people who have the correct ability to do so. And we don't have the ability to regulate anything like that.
No, we could, we could decide whether we'd recommend it though,
Yes,
as a, right, yeah, we couldn't decide to do it. As I said, we'd have to go to the selectmen to see, exactly what would, but we'd have to decide whether we want to give that, that incentive. It'd be more inclined to jump in and say absolutely if they were giving us a conservation price on it. They're more or less giving, we're paying the market value price on it, but still, we can give it some consideration.
Yeah, Pete, I get it, based on 70,700, which I thought was the assessment. I get a more of a taxes of 2,100, 2120, 29, based on the current mill rate, which is the same
I
as
guess,
last year.
I guess I didn't get a final breakdown of of the lot and the
Maybe I'm wrong about
lot
that.
and excess
Anyway,
acreage, and exactly what the, what the tax collector gets as a whether it's broken out when it gets to the tax collector or just a total number from the assessor. But anyway, that's right from the tax collector the other day.
Oh, okay, really? Okay.
Yes.
I'm not gonna write down the amount in the minutes. I don't see any reason to put in the
Yeah.
the amount of their taxes.
No, that's just for discussion
just
here.
for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
that's
I-
fine, Mary.
I'm usually fairly liberal about things. I take this as being, okay, let's say the tax collector says, yeah, go ahead. You're gonna get a waiver this year. And they don't get the grant. That means that just because you were trying
Mhm.
to sell your land to somebody, you get a tax break because, and then if you don't sell it, you do, I mean, I don't see where, nobody else has ever come to us making this request. And I don't think it's a good idea to start something like this.
Mhm. I
Well,
think-
and in terms of if it didn't go through or anything, we certainly say, for example, build something into the purchase and sales agreement. Such that if it didn't go through, if the purchase and sales agreement were not executed, the state would be responsible to repay the taxes if they were given a waiver at on any given time period. So I think we could cover ourselves, and the town could cover itself, if,
Right.
for example, that, we didn't consummate this purchase with them.
Yeah, I agree with Marilyn. I think it's too iffy, given that we don't have a purchase and sales agreement in place at this point in time. I think it's, I don't know, either, Pete, I was trying to remember what Kathy, when you were talking spring of possibly of 2023, is that the latest time frame we were talking about? I thought there was some,
Yes,
the Board of Finance meeting. I couldn't remember what Kathy said.
yes, that's what it looks like, and maybe it's possibly get pushed out to, yes.
I'm not sure the mechanics of this, but I agree with Marilyn that to give them a waiver of taxes without having something solid in place. And because we're talking about making the purchase contingent upon receiving a grant, and we won't know the answer to that. I think I think there are some real concerns with seeking a waiver, and I don't know the mechanics of granting that.
Well, I think the town attorneys could work something out, I would think. As I said, build it into, I mean, they wouldn't be given a waiver. They may have to pay this year's taxes. They're doing 30 days. If they pay those, it could be a rebate, whatever gets worked out, with the attorneys and incorporated in the purchase and sales agreement. I would think there's a way around that if we wanted to go that route without it getting stuck.
Yeah, I think though that could be addressed after the fact if we knew that a sale was actually going to go through.
Well,
It could
that's
be
another one.
included as an adjustment at closing or something like that, but I'm not sure. I just have some reservations because we don't yet have a firm deal with the sellers.
Right, and I doubt
Well,
that
they
there
should.
would be
It could
people
be-
lining up in
Go
the
ahead.
future to put in an open space grant so that they could get a waiver on their taxes, but there's something about it that it doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't sit well. Bob, what's your opinion on it?
Well, I'm glad you asked. This isn't the first time that things like this have happened in town. Haliax got taxes deferred on Red Arts for about 12 years. And that more or less set the precedent that I'm willing to push forward with.
And what was the reason for that deferral?
Well, the family claimed they didn't have the means to pay the taxes, so the town deferred the taxes until they sold the property. How's that?
And whose decision was that? What was the process on that? Do you know?
All I know is what happened.
Well, are we against the idea of it entirely, or just leery of
Well,
the
let me
mechanics of it?
Yeah, let me jump in again, Peter, if you would.
Absolutely.
I, as I made a point when I emailed you, and I thought I emailed everyone, you know, we were talking to them about the property. This has gotten, you know, wound out a year and a half to 2 years longer than we had initially anticipated. They're willing to wait and not put the property on the market. I think they're due consideration of some kind of reparation with the taxes. Considering they're waiting on us, I think it's on our dime. So why shouldn't we go to the town and have that consideration made?
I would be in favor of making the powers that be aware of this request from the sellers. But I don't think it's up to us as
Oh, it isn't. No.
and nor should we make a recommendation. I think it's also an indication of some concern on the part of the family about the process. That's unfortunate because the timeline is really out of our control. You know, there are so many ifs in this whole process now because of what's going on with the state. And they've announced grants, but they haven't announced what the level of funding will be and all that kind of thing, which plays into how this whole transaction is going to be handled. So I think it's something that we could call to the attention of both the Board of Finance or start with the selectmen first and say, how do we deal with this request? And what the process might be. But I think that it might be more, the best way to deal with this would be if the transaction actually takes place, that there be a retroactive adjustment at closing rather than something that happens proactively at this point in time when we don't even have a purchase and sales agreement in place. Or it could be something that could be put into a purchase and sales agreement. But I don't think this kind of decision really rests with the Board of the Conservation Commission, other than to pass on this request to someone who has more authority to act.
Okay, well, we've said that, so it's a question of whether we recommend it or not. I know we can't make the decision. That's clear.
Right.
But whether we recommend it, I mean, we can't just throw this at we're spearheading this whole grant process and the purchase. They'd be right to say, well, what do you guys recommend?
Yeah, and I would say that we recommend that something be done as along the lines that we've talked about, to bring that to the selectmen's and the Board of Finance's attention, and let them work out the details.
Oh,
Again, you know, the family's, you know, on the hook for an extra year at least. I understand where they're coming from.
Well, realistically, counter to that, if I may counter to that, though, realistically, what other options have they got?
Well,
I don't think if they put it on the market, they're going to get anything realistic. And I think they know that. I mean, if I were in their position, I'd ask for what they're asking for too. But, you know, why not? They have nothing to lose, but I don't think, you know, we could as a gesture of faith. I mean, it adds, for 1 year, it adds $1,400 to the purchase price.
Right.
I think as long as whatever is written in the letter makes it very clear that we do not have the decision to do this, we're just, as you said, passing it along to the people who have the authority to do it. And that we don't really have anything more to do than pass it along.
Well, I think before we pass it along, we have to say whether we'd recommend it.
I don't agree, Pete. I don't think this falls within our purview at all, other than to pass this along because we don't have the authority. I think if a vote were taken, I suspected that would fail because we seem to be divided 2-2. Maybe I'm not. I'm
No one says we've got the authority to grant it. It would only be a recommendation.
Just
The
a
decision will be-
recommendation. We don't have the authority, Carol. We've already decided that.
Yes, but I also, I personally would not be willing necessarily to recommend that this is the best way to handle the concern raised. And I don't think we need to recommend. I think we only need to pass it on to somebody who would who would understand what the mechanisms would be and whether this is an appropriate thing to do, an appropriate precedent to set.
Well, yes, we would do that, but with our recommendation, to
I
look
don't
into
think
what the
it's, I don't think
mechanism.
it's
We don't- we
necessary
don't
for us
have-
to.
We don't have to sweat the mechanism. That's not our job to cover the legal end. Our legal end is to handle the relationship with the family and try to smooth the purchase as best we can from a non-legal and actually financial standpoint.
Could we just say to them that we will forward the letter that they wrote to us to the Board of Selectmen, and they will communicate with the family?
That's fine. I would go with that.
I don't
That's
want
what,
to-
that's all I'm saying too, is,
Yes,
but I don't think we have to put, I would prefer not to put it in terms of a recommendation from us.
I agree. Just to forward, we'll forward the communication to Town Hall, and the appropriate body there will take care of it. And leave us out of the, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Bob. I just don't want us to get in this muddy water where people are thinking that we're recommending to people that if they, you know how things spin out of control.
So can we agree that what we should do as the Conservation Commission to make some sort of a move to forward the family's request onto the selectmen for
Yeah.
their consideration?
Well, if there's a motion on the floor to that effect, we'll vote on it.
So moved. I'll make that a motion.
Well, I want the motion, I want the motion to be written, I want you to, whatever we say in it we have to decide how much of what the family's concern is gonna be communicated to anybody who reads the minutes, or do we want to keep this kind of, I don't know what the word is.
I would agree with the motion of assuming that the only thing that is done is to forward the communication that Peter received from the family to the Board of Selectmen.
That's fine. I'll go along with that.
And we're not gonna talk about what the letter was about.
Now, just say,
No,
we are forwarding herewith a communication from from an executor of the Talmadge estate. The other thing that is a bit of a concern is that the letter is only from Kathleen Colburn, who is one of two executors. I don't know what prevails under state statute in terms of whether if there are two executors, both have to sign off on things. So that's another thing that puts, I think it should be aware from that we forward that with the understanding that the letter is signed by one of the two executors of the Talmadge estate.
Well, they'll figure that'll be, I'm sure that the Board of Selectmen is gonna work through all the details, and we'll let them.
Well, I
figure out
think
what
we should at least make them aware that there are two executors, and that the request is not coming from, that it was coming from one of the two executors of. Forwarding a letter from Kathleen Colburn, one of two executors of the Talmadge estate. And let them deal with that, because they would have no way of knowing, as we do, that there are two executors.
Before any financial documents or other legal documents were signed, the town attorney, I'm sure, would make sure that all the appropriate parties are involved. So I don't think we need to sweat that from that angle. And if.
I see
I
no
don't think-
problem, Pete. And
I
just
don't think that they're gonna jeopardize the sale of this thing if they're waiting by by pulling something over that the rest of the family is not gonna want. It's gonna single value, because they know it'll jeopardize the whole transaction.
Okay. Well,
So-
I see no problem in just making the selectmen aware that this communication is from one of the two executors of the estate. If you,
Can we-
if you
can
feel
we-
that, if that, I mean, that's something that they would need to know.
All right, that can be included, fine,
Yeah, okay.
Hang on a minute, guys.
sure, take your time.
The Wellington Conservation Commission will forward the letter sent to the Wellington Conservation Commission to the Board of Selectmen. I now have this right yet. To forward to the Board of Selectmen the communication from one of the two executors of the Talmadge estate. But that's not final, but that's a place to start. And so you want to massage that a little more? The Wellington Conservation Commission will forward the letter sent to the Wellington Conservation Commission concerning the open space. Do we put in
Right
the,
back. Check something.
I don't have the letter in front of me. I'm gonna bring up the email from Kathy, so I have it in front of me, so that maybe there's some words in there that will make us all feel.
Yeah, I think I forwarded the letter to everybody.
Right, but if I bring it up
believe-
on my screen here,
Yeah, Sure.
I won't be able to.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me here either.
Or somebody else can write the motion if they wish. Who is the letter from? Is it from you, Pete? Oh,
Well,
here.
I'll send it.
Oh, I see it here.
No, I've just, sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared to delve into things in such depth.
To have well, you can say just the commission will forward, or you can say that I will forward as chairman. The letter from the Talmadge, from one of the two executives, as you said,
Right.
of the Talmadge estate,
What they-
regard,
what they
regard,
think that the current projected timeline for our efforts to secure funding for the purchase of your property. We are happy to report, okay, this is the wrong letter. This is not the letter that we're supposed to be looking at. Sorry, John.
yeah, it was just a very short, it was only about 3 lines on Kathleen's email response. And we just got a printer going here today. I didn't print that out.
Would the town consider waiving or reducing the property taxes for the land, given the new timeline and the ongoing cost to the estate? That seems reasonable to us. That's from Kathleen Colburn.
Sure.
I don't think that we want to divulge all of the, I don't know if it matters. Does somebody want to write a motion? And then if you write it, you can send it to me and then I'll put it in the minutes. Carol, are you working on anything there?
No, I'm just,
Tell you what basically what you said there, Marilyn, was sounded pretty good. If you could, maybe you could send that out to us and then we could
Right.
adjust it or
yeah,
correct it.
yeah,
because
yeah, I
we-
was just verifying the
we have
information I
until
have on the
Thursday.
executor's
It's the holiday.
status.
They're not going to be open on Monday. We have a little bit of time to massage it. And Kathy
Well,
might want to weigh in
If
on
they
it.
if they don't get in bingo on time, I think in
It's
this
okay.
season of Zoomage and disrupted meetings that we don't have to sweat that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, if I could dump it on you to just put down what you've got here in general, and we'll tweak it if necessary.
And it sounds like everyone is in agreement that we will send it to them and they will decide what to do with the response.
Yeah, well, okay, we should vote on it in any case. Does anybody have a, okay with, I think what the gist is? Enough to vote on that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we kind of beat the horse dead.
Yeah, I think we've all agreed, just forward the communication.
Well, I saw him trying to lift his head though a little bit, so maybe we better.
No, I think we're
Okay.
okay. I just wanted to check my records and.
Okay, all in favor of the motion as Marilyn essentially presented it, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, great. All right, the next thing related to that was the letter Kathy wrote in support of the Wellington's open space. Did everyone get that, the grant application?
Yes, I did.
I did, yeah.
Does anyone have any issues with that?
No,
No,
Yeah.
the only thing I would suggest is that at the closing, that it be say sincerely Wellington Conservation Commission, Peter Anderson, chairperson,
Oh, yeah, usually we have something like that. but,
something like that, so that it's
No,
clear
it's on
that,
it's on the letterhead of the, but anyway, yeah, that could be included.
I think, rather than, that makes it clear that it's the commission as a whole, but we
Yeah,
You mean the
we would need to
signature-
make a motion tonight to, and I'd be happy to make a motion that, that we, approve the proposed letter of support for the open space grant application of the town, for the Talmadge estate property, drafted by, presented tonight.
I'll second.
discussion. I would make one other change besides what Carol mentioned is
Carol
to
wants
say,
your name to say at the end, Peter Anderson, chairperson of the Wellington Conservation Commission.
No, I would say sincerely Wellington Conservation Commission, Peter Anderson, chair, and have Pete sign it.
Okay, and not have.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay,
and I would also change the second line that says, where it says Talmadge Estate. On the record, the owner is the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge.
Right.
okay, this is
Okay.
the third, 1, 2, 3, the
Second-
fourth line, the fourth
Yep.
line down,
Well, second line in the main body of the letter.
the one that says.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, I see. It's mentioned in the
purchasing
re.
From, it's what the change is gonna be purchasing from, and the change is not the Talmadge estate.
It's going to be the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge.
Of property, so it would be the acquisition of property of the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge in the then in the heading of under and
Okay, well,
also in the second line of the first paragraph.
you think it should be changed both places?
I do, yeah, if we're gonna do,
All right,
Okay. Change name.
but then I think it's okay where later on, when it refers to the Talmadge estate, we can just leave it that.
Oh,
in-
yeah,
In the body
right.
of the letter.
right, but I
So in
think
the-
that
So in the re, instead of it saying the acquisition of the Talmadge estate property on Mason Road, it's going to say,
the acquisition of property of the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge on Mason Road.
got it. The exact same wording as the,
Well, the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge. I mean, you
Yeah,
could turn that around, but on the record, it's the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge,
okay,
Property of,
of the estate of,
and
yes.
estate of, blah, blah, blah. Dot.
You have to realize that that property is listed by the town as an address on 44, not on Mason Road.
Well, yeah, that's
Oh.
true.
That's true.
It is.
We keep referring it to Mason Road because of the frontage.
Well, we're not really giving an address for it. We're just saying it's located on Mason Road, so maybe. we
With
can
frontage,
open-
yeah, actually, if we just, why don't we just say from the estate of, take out in the re part, on Mason Road, just state the, for the, from the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge, and that paragraph says,
Hang
with,
on, well, hang on a minute, Sarah. I'm trying to bring this up. I wish I had printed this and I have to get to the, okay, we're back up to read.
yeah, I would say just take off the phrase on Mason Road
Okay,
and put support for the town of Wellington's open space grant application and acquisition of property of the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge. And then in the next paragraph, if we change it to purchasing from the estate of Daniel Talmadge land, and it says with frontage on Mason Road. And that's, that's going to be referred to.
Are you referring to the number 1 of after the first paragraph?
Nope, I'm referring to the first paragraph where it says, the Wellington Conservation Commission strongly supports the town's effort to pursue its open space goals by purchasing from the estate of Daniel W. Talmadge 6± acres of forested land in southeast Wellington with frontage on Mason Road. And I think that because the supporting language in the following paragraphs refer to the frontage concerns having to do with the frontage on Mason, that would be appropriate way to handle that.
That would be, yeah, that would cover it. Take Mason Road out of the and leave it in the opening paragraph.
Leave it in the opening paragraph.
Well,
Okay,
I'd just say with frontage on, leave the with frontage on Mason Road.
let's see the book frontage on this. Okay. Got it.
Actually, there was one other thing I wondered whether, maybe it's overkill, but
I'm sorry, guys. You want me on the first paragraph, the Wellington Conservation Commission strongly supports the town's effort to pursue its open space goals by purchasing the Talmadge estate, and it's
From the estate of Daniel W.
The Talmadge estate. We wanted to say the estate of
Daniel W. Talmadge,
Okay.
right.
16 ± acres of forested land in southeast Wellington with frontage on Mason Road and everything
Okay,
else.
thank you. I got it now.
Okay.
And yeah, then,
And there was something else, Pete?
no, yeah, well, down near the end, maybe it's overkill, but it,
Tell me which, is it what, 4 or 5?
very last paragraph.
The one that starts with the WCC's hopes that the town.
Yes, yes. I was just, occurred to me, and as I said, maybe it's overkill. It says, the last sentence, Wellington, will enable Wellington continue making progress in conserving open space. I just wondering whether we ought to toss in there, progress in, progress toward its goal of whatever the percent of protected open space is that the POCD calls for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
something like what, 23%?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say 25, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And
don't
of
have,
course,
I didn't have the numbers here. I didn't look up the POCD, but I'm just, was.
yeah, I
thinking
think,
of the idea
let's leave that
of
off,
putting
Pete, because some of what we classify as open space is not necessarily classifiable by, they don't seem to have universal standards on what we can classify, and we include some stuff such as easements that may not be qualified.
Well,
So let's
who's
not get
they?
into the specifics.
Who's they?
Well,
Specify.
and I think the only things, things that are in ownership would be considered as protected open space, but I'm not sure that all the easements that we show on our records would necessarily, meet
Correct.
standards.
Meet
So
what-
let's not get into that.
Meet whose standards?
state standards or, you
Well,
know,
we're not- yeah, I'm only suggesting we put in what our plan of conservation development says.
oh, okay.
For numbers, not what
Yeah,
the
well,
state
that
or
depends
anybody
on
else.
how you define it. I think I'd prefer just to, you know,
Well, I mean, the town has a P O C D we worked hard to put
Yeah,
with some numbers in it
okay.
that we bring before every time we go to CIP and ask for open space money. That's a
Yeah.
number we put in front of them.
I
okay,
will go, if you want, if we want to include that sentence, I'll go to the POCD and find it, and I agree with Bob and I sort of, he said 23, I said 25, it's.
Yeah,
kind of
that's a
distributed, have it
ballpark.
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Somewhere in that,
Sure.
And
No, I think it's appropriate. I mean, that's what we're working towards.
sure, yeah,
I
okay,
think, it brings to the fore that, that's what, that's what we put in front of them. We
Yeah.
mentioned, we mentioned POCD in our rest of our application and this
Sure.
is the number. And it's whether we ought to put in, no, maybe we can leave out exactly where we are now and just put the goal in.
put the goal
Yeah.
in, yeah.
Yeah,
sure. At the goal, it'll be fine. That'd be fine.
Okay,
Okay.
I suppose, yeah, I can dredge that up on the web somewhere, I guess, and
yeah, I think it's on, doesn't planning downstairs have it on their website?
most likely, yeah. All
Yeah.
right, so let me put something in like that and then I'll send the letter out then and, well.
Well, we
send it-
don't actually have to send that, I mean, there's a date on it, but this is a document that would be included. This isn't going to be sent immediately to the commissioner.
Right,
Isn't
yeah,
this
right,
going to be
yeah, you're
included
right.
as part of the application? So it
Yeah,
doesn't,
Kathy just wanted to get stuff out of the way.
Right.
yeah, oh, I know.
And
And,
she
Before
did
timeline.
propose it a draft, knowing that there could be changes made to it.
Okay, so let me work on that and I'll forward those comments to Kathy also.
Yeah, okay, because this is, if we consider this a draft document, that we could say that we reviewed and it will be forwarded to Kathy for,
Do you want me to just write in the minutes that we discussed the letter and made changes to the draft and not have the changes in the minutes?
yes, that
Yes,
sounds good.
yes,
That makes it
yes.
easier for all of fun,
Yeah.
all the way around
But
it.
there
Just
could be
that-
another
just-
draft,
Just said we reviewed the draft of a letter that will be included with the application.
yes.
Right, and so the date would be, would be whatever,
Okay,
So,
boom.
Okay, sounds
Let's
good.
move that on. Okay, bury that horse. Ready to bury the horse, Bob? Get the backhoe?
What's that?
Okay, so my next question I have on this is, I've been asked to do something by Kathy to work with the selectmen on the purchase and sales agreement. And I'm not sure that I want to make sure that that's something that the commission wants me to work on. I also, that raises the question that the Board of Finance went above and beyond what we asked for at their meeting and agreed to recommend to the selectmen call a town meeting for the 101,000 that's going to come from the reserve fund, as well as the 60,000 that we need immediately in order to be able to do things like pay for a purchase and sales agreement and that kind of thing. They had a brief discussion at the end about the state grant and contingency. And Erica said, well, the purchase and sales agreement would override the town meeting action. And so they did not put anything in their motion about the 101 to come from the reserve fund to be contingent upon receiving a state grant. And I had a bit of concern about that because I think there could be some confusion if the motions were passed without a reference to contingent on state grant. Because the townspeople would be asked to vote to appropriate 60,000 from the open space fund and 101,000 from the reserve fund. And if that were passed, then my question is, would that in fact, without any reference to contingency on a grant, would that be an authorization that somebody could say, well, you said the town voted to pay 101, why are you saying we can't do that? You know.
Did it
that would
vote
al-
on, did it vote on actually paying for the grant, or did it vote on making the monies available? Contingent on final sales agreement and price?
No, their minutes have not yet been filed, but I looked at the meeting and the motions, I believe, if you go back and look at that meeting, that the motions that were approved said to recommend that the town selectmen call a town meeting to appropriate funds, the 60 and the 101, without any reference to contingency. And Erica indicated that she would make sure that any purchase and sales agreement was contingent upon receipt of a grant from DEEP. So I'm thinking that it might muddy the waters a bit. And I haven't had the chance to research what was done with prior things. My recollection was that in the case of the Knowlton property, at least, what was presented to the town meeting was contingent upon a grant of at least 250,000 from the state. We're not saying what amount this time, but I'd like to research what action was actually presented to and acted upon by the town in the previous grant things. And then I don't know whether it has, that I don't know that I want to be the person, but I have no idea what timeline the selectmen have in mind for calling a meeting or any of that kind. I would be willing to deal with the selectmen in the absence of the chair and vice chair, but I'd like some direction from the full commission.
I would think that's entirely reasonable that you proceed on that. You've had, some financial background and workings with the town and, fully capable of being able to do that. So I have no problem with you going forward with that. And,
I think maybe we,
Much of
if it's understood that I could communicate with just Pete and Kathy, which would not require a quorum of the commission and therefore an illegal meeting of the commission for advice as we go through this process and to convey any information I find about what was done with the prior grant applications and at the town meeting, when the timelines on and the wording of the town meeting motions on the two prior things that we.
I think that's just, falls under, background research on the previous history of grants and I don't, see that, a subcommittee and essentially is doing a little research on the background.
Right. So as long,
That's-
if
that's-
other folks are comfortable with that, what I would do would be to go up and look for the actual meeting minutes
Yeah.
and the wordings of the motions in those.
That's fine with me. Bob?
Yeah, why
I
not?
have no problem. I trust your decision making.
Okay, so but I would be willing to do some research as long as I can share that with Pete and Kathy and we can come to a conclusion about the best way to deal with this.
That would be
Well, I
great.
mean, if you're going to participate in that particular thing, Carol, you've got to feel comfortable doing it.
Yep, and I'd like to at least be able to share it with the chair and vice chair. Perhaps we can, indicate
Sure.
that that's
No
something
problem.
that we will.
Unless other members would like to be privy, that's fine too, I would say.
No,
Oh, I'm fine.
too
Yeah.
many chefs spoil the stew.
So,
But I also am a little concerned about having more than 3 people involved and whether that we would then be participating in illegal meetings under FOI.
well, we're not making any decisions
No,
at that
we're
that
just,
point, but they just be procedural things and, matter of
Right.
procedure, not of substance and voting for money or
but Kathy at one point had asked me if I would be willing to do that, but I
Yeah.
certainly don't want to do it off my own bat. And it would involve also probably talking with Erica about what kind of timeline they're talking,
Oh,
they're
absolutely, yeah,
thinking of.
sure. Yeah, yeah, I think
Okay.
Kathy, is interested in that too. Yeah, that's fine. We'd appreciate, that would be great, Carol. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
for
So
doing-
do we want, I don't know if that requires a motion or we'll just informally.
I don't think so.
This is the mechanism to pursue that. Are you comfortable, and are you comfortable with, if it seems desirable, with having the contingency written into an emotion for the town meeting with regard to the monies to come from the reserve fund?
Contingency on getting the grant, you mean?
Yeah, contingency on getting the grant, and that would apply only to the money coming from the reserve fund, because we have to be able to draw
Oh, right,
the 60 grand for other costs
right.
in
Yeah.
order to move
I think
forward.
that's what we've gone to every meeting and every board so far with the idea that we were gonna would not proceed unless,
Yeah.
unless we
Well,
had.
see,
had
that
a grant.
and what I saw in that meeting was the Board of Finance and Erica all said, well, yeah, we all understand that. Well, that's them within the context of what's been presented to them at this point. But there may be I have some concerns about kind of muddying the waters if the motion goes forward to town meeting without a reference to contingency.
Right, yeah, I agree that someone in the townspeople, citizenry may raise that question, so that's certainly, and they may want just more than a nod, and, oh yeah, from whomever, selectmen or.
Yeah, and
finance.
Erica was saying, well.
It should be written in there, you're right, so
Yeah.
we should see about doing that. Just
Yeah,
make
because
it-
Erica
make it all
says,
work
well,
together.
this would take precedence, but I don't know that she's qualified to give a legal opinion
Right.
whether that is in fact the case. And I believe in being as clear as possible with the townspeople on what's being proposed and what the, how
Okay,
that.
that makes sense.
Okay, so I will
Anything else on-
research.
Yeah,
I'll
anything else on the Mason Road acquisition at this point? Okay, good. So Carol, you can work on that. We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'll pass along what I find in
Yep.
terms of wording of things.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so moving on to now we can do the implementer bill. We have the options. You've seen the options. I don't think we're gonna meet in person this summer. Maybe in the fall. My suggestion would be, my 2 cents would be that we continue with the remote meetings for the summer, and maybe switch to in-person meetings in the fall. Whatever the fall is, whether it's October maybe, or I won't be in person in September.
Would we have the ability, let's say if there's a storm, or something, that we could still have a meeting and do a Zoom, or is it all or nothing?
All or nothing regarding what, I'm sorry.
If we can't, let's say we decide to continue to use the Zoom platform until fall, could you make it so that if the weather was bad, we could have a hybrid meeting, or just the Zoom, or that's not allowed?
Well, I'm not sure you can change meeting by meeting. They said you need to set up and forward to the town clerk's office the decision about future meetings. They said specifically, though, that they could be changed, but I suppose we could change meeting by meeting if we wanted to.
what I find confusing is that if a member of the public wants to come to an electronic meeting, the agency has to make available to the member of the public a physical location and the electronic equipment necessary to allow them to attend in real time.
Is
Right.
this something that Pete sent out? What are you reading from, Carol?
Yeah,
Did I miss a part of an email?
it's very complicated, Marilyn. And
Well,
You know, and if you have an in-person meeting, you have to provide members of the
Okay, I got it.
agency the opportunity to participate by means of electronic equipment. I
I see it now.
actually,
Well, for the in-person meeting, we've all been meeting electronically anyway, so I don't think any one of us is gonna make it a hassle for the town in order to ask the town to set up a place for them to to come to the town office building, for example, to attend electronically.
yeah. Actually, we have not, it's been, except for the last several years, we have not held meetings in July and August. But there
Well, so-
might be a need for a meeting, you know,
Well, we can put it, our schedule in that says, our meetings will be held. Be remote meetings for July, August and September. And if we cancel meetings, that certainly can be done meeting by
Yeah.
meeting as we've done in the past.
right, meeting by meeting, yeah.
All
Okay,
right. So,
that's fine, and it's-
Marilyn, your question was in terms of,
It just, I guess it's not important. I know a lot of people hate Zooms. I really like the convenience of not having to go anywhere. If the weather's bad, you don't have to think about it. But I know that a lot of people are really averse to this form of meeting, so I will go either way with what the consensus is. But I personally,
your speech was kind of not
Yeah.
very clear there.
yeah, that's because I moved away. I don't have any problem with Zoom meetings. I actually prefer them to in person because it's just the convenience of not having to go somewhere and just be home, and when it's done, you're there already. But I know that it's a lot of people find it awkward and can't wait to stop doing it. So I understand that as well.
Okay, well, we could continue that if we'd like. The only thing is, and it's not really a problem with our commission compared with, planning and zoning, inland wetlands, where there's a lot of people, the public, that want and wish to attend. So the problem with them having Zoom meetings is that, well, they may have to deal with that in any case. Problem with the Zoom meetings is that if any member of the public more than 24 hours ahead of time says they want to attend electronically, the town has to provide a place and an opportunity for them to do that. And that was
So,
discussed at the meeting. There'll be expenses. Right now, there's only one room. The common room is set up for that. They're talking about setting up the lower conference room with a different camera system. A hybrid meeting is a real can of worms in terms of you have to have someone that can staff the meeting and run a meeting
Right.
and address people electronically and in the room at the same time.
and there are concerns about Zoom boom bomb issues and that kind of thing with the hybrid
Yeah,
that
Bob?
we're talking about.
no, my point was, I guess, reiterating what you said, Peter, that the town has the capability of running a quote unquote hybrid meeting. So if we, for instance, if we wanted to have an in-person meeting and someone in the town wanted to attend electronically, they can attend electronically because the town has the equipment to make that possible for them to attend that meeting, that we would be at that meeting. They may only be able to see one or two of us at a time, but they would be able to connect to the meeting electronically from their workplace or home or wherever they happen to be. So that's how that's going to work.
Well, the common room is set up so that I think someone tuning in can see the whole board at once, not just
Yeah, depending on
individual.
how far away the camera is set up.
But the town's concerned also with conflict of meetings, because a lot of times
Right.
there's two meetings going on, and the town right now is not equipped to do that at all. They have to outfit
And
a
it-
big room. They're talking
other issue is technical.
multiple thousands of dollars to
Yeah,
outfit another room with cameras and number one, and number two, to provide someone with the expertise to run the meetings.
Right.
We can do a simple Zoom meeting, but a hybrid meeting or or running the equipment actually on the site where the
Yep.
people requesting an electronic place to do that.
well, and I think that's where some of that COVID money is going to go to.
Right, yes, yeah. they have money for that, so, but it's a matter of getting it done.
Right.
So I don't know, I don't think, well, so again, my suggestion is that we vote, continue electronically at least through September. Well, actually, we could put it down, we want to do electronic all the way to April and then make a change if we want to at some later time.
Why don't we do that?
I think it's nice that if you and Kathy has expressed just like you do, that she would like to be able to spend more time in her second place. By being able to do the Zooms when you two are out of state is really nice that you can be there.
Well, she's not going to come home and I'm not going to come home for meetings. So
Right.
we're not going to do in person over the summer, but we can decide, say in the September meeting, if it's a Zoom meeting, whether we want the October meeting to be in person or continue Zooming at that time. So we can, kick the can down the road and leave it at that point.
I really don't mind intruding on your solitude during the summer, Peter.
I'm
The,
sure.
the other thing that's strange, though, is the way that's set up. If you want to have an in-person only meeting, they have to provide members of the agency the opportunity to participate by means of electronic equipment. However, the agency is not required to adjourn or postpone the meeting if the member of the agency loses their connection or otherwise becomes degraded or
Right,
interrupted. But what this means, if you're holding an in-person meeting, a member of that board has to have can request technological issues. This does not extend to members of the public, but just to those on the board to participate remotely, and does not intend to make the meeting hybrid.
Right. But as I said at the beginning, we've all participated electronically anyway.
Yeah,
So it's not an issue for us.
no, I think electronic for this summer months, for the first 3 months would be fine. Well, or if you want to do it electronically, as long as you confirm that we can change from come the fall.
That's been confirmed. We can
Okay.
change anytime we want.
Okay,
So
fine.
I would suggest then we at this time, just vote to continue according to the implementer bill, continue our meetings remotely.
I'll second.
You want to you're not going to put an end date, that we're just going to continue doing our meetings remotely.
In accordance with the implementer bill or whatever.
Okay, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Well, I just want to ask a question whether we ought to put in the April 22.
Yes, maybe the dates.
Yeah, you could put in, continue it per the implementer bill until April 22nd or until such time as we elect to change.
Okay,
Change, what do we call them? Formats, change, it's not format, change platforms.
okay. Sounds good.
Okay, good. So I'll pass that on to the town clerk. Okay, anything else on that? And we can't discuss anything else that's not on the agenda. Well, let me see.
Are we going to still meet at our regular meeting date?
Oh, well, that's, I guess, yeah, that is on the that's on the agenda. Well, I don't have anything right at this point that would make that necessary. I could wait and see if anything comes up or whether, Kathy or Carol turn up anything regarding the grant between now and July 21 that would require that we meet to pass anything. We could maybe at this point just assume we don't need a meeting, and I'll wait till a couple of days before to cancel that then.
Yeah,
if
I think we
nothing
just
turns up at
continue
that
with our regular schedule and cancel if not needed,
Right,
as we've
right.
done.
So we'll just leave it the way it is, and if we cancel it, it'll be canceled.
Yeah.
We're not canceling it at this time.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
You
you.
said you can't be there, Marilyn, is that what you just said?
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, no.
Okay then, I'm going to, so we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:09. And I will pause recording.